Last time we were introduced to the indirect statement. Latin uses a head verb to introduce an indirect statement, an accusative for the subject of the indirect statement, and an infinitive for the main verb of the indirect statement. This infinitive can change tenses to denote action happening at the same time as the main verb, time before, or time after. Before we look closer at this change in infinitive tense, it's important to show that, for the perfect passive and future active infinitives, the ending of the participle form will agree with the accusative subject. So what do I mean here? Let's give a basic indirect statement. Dico pueros a puellis amatos esse. I say that the boys were loved by the girls. The word amatos agrees in case, number, and gender with pueros. If it's the girls who were loved by the boys, our sentence would be Dico puellas a pueris amatos esse. And the same would be true if we had a neuter accusative subject. Dico templum a pueris amatum esse. This is also true of the future active infinitive. Dico puellas amaturas esse. I say that the girls will love. And dico milites amaturos esse. I say that the soldiers will love. Okay, let's take this sentence. Dico pueros pugnara. I say that the boys are fighting. And turn dico into the perfect dixi, I said. The sense of the indirect statement is the same. Pugnara is present tense, which means that it's happening at the same time as dixi, so in the past. But English doesn't work as well, and we get into a sticking point because of it. Proper English grammar says that the translation of this sentence is, I said that the boys were fighting. English not only changes our translation of says to said, it also changes how it translates the indirect statement infinitive from are fighting to were fighting. Okay, let's rewind here. Here's dico in the present tense with the three different tenses of infinitives and their translations. Dico pueros pugnara, I say that the boys are fighting. Dico pueros pugnawissa, I say that the boys have fought, where the fighting happened before and is already done by the time I'm speaking. And dico pueros pugnaturos esse. I say that the boys will fight, where the fighting has yet to happen when I'm speaking. So we change the verb dico into the perfect dixi, and here's what we get. Dixi pueros pugnara. I said that the boys were fighting. The fighting's happening at the same time as the saying. Dixi pueros pugnawissa. I said that the boys had fought, where the fighting happened before and is already done by the time I was speaking. And dixi pueros pugnaturos esse. I said that the boys would fight, where the fighting has yet to happen when I'm speaking. Notice how the indirect statement verb changed its translation to reflect how English shows the relativity of the tenses. The perfect infinitive pugnawissa shows time before the main verb, so it has to be translated into the pluperfect tense in English, had fought. And the future of the past is translated would fight. Say we change our head verb into the future, we get the same indirect statement translations as with a present tense head verb. Dicam pueros pugnara, I shall say that the boys are fighting. Dicam pueros pugnawissa, I shall say that the boys have fought, where the fighting happened before and is already done by the time I'm speaking. And dicam pueros pugnaturos esse, I shall say that the boys will fight, where the fighting has yet to happen. Take note of these slight differences in translation. They are very important when you're attacking indirect statements. We'll naturally see much more complex indirect statements in a bit, but understanding the basic workings of them is very important. One more note. The indirect statement has to have a subject. Check out the differences between these two sentences. Gaius dicit se Claudiam amara, and Gaius dicit eum Claudiam amara. Se is a reflexive pronoun, which means that when the subject of the head verb is the same as the subject of the indirect statement, we use se. When we're referring to another person, we would use another pronoun, like eum. The problem with English is that we would translate both of these statements in the same way. Gaius says that he loves Claudia. Latin's good because it tells you whether it's Gaius who loves Claudia as is the case in the first sentence, or some other guy who loves her, as is the case in the second sentence. Oh, and say can be feminine and neuter, and also plural. It's just a general third-person reflexive pronoun that works for any he, she, it, or they. Claudia dicet se gaiam amara. Claudia dicet eam gaiam amara. And here's the plural. Milites dicunt se Claudiam amara, and milites dicunt eos Claudiam amara.